Welcome, Flip Clock fans. You're looking at a raw video here, a relatively minimally or unprocessed video of a flip clock, and I wanted to do this to get this out there because we're talking about this clock on flipclockfans.com forum. This is the internals of a New Haven flip clock. These clocks were produced from about 1936 to 1939, and they're antique clocks, and you can tell now the tiles here, they're metal. They're metal plates that have been painted with the numerals on there. And you can see our mechanism here. And the interesting thing about that is this thing lends itself to being disassembled completely. You can remove the plates of this clock and get to the gears and clean them out individually. Unfortunately, most people oil that clock by just spraying or spreading oil indiscriminately inside of the mechanism there. So that's a bad idea for many reasons. It's a short-term solution, and it's just a terrible way to treat a clock. We want to look here at the mechanism a little more closely, and what you see is it's an electric coil that creates an electromagnetic field that's going to spin this wheel here. So when the electric is applied, you're going to see it spin that wheel. The problem with the clock that's online, or that was online, is that these wires here have evidently broke off of this coil. So this is just a coil that's had the wires break off, and the probable reason for that is these wires were silk wrapped wires years ago, and by this time they have corroded. They have disintegrated essentially. They don't exist anymore. So hopefully, if we can get that clock in here, we can work on that and get that reconnected, get the wires reconnected to the coil if that's what the problem is. This here is a replacement cord. It's a lot of people collect fans and lamps and they restore them, and this is where mostly you can get these reproduction cords that look like what they used to use in the old times. So this is what our mechanism looks like. I'll go ahead and plug it in now. Remarkably, these old clocks are very quiet. So there you see we have it energized and it's running very quietly. With this taken apart, you can you'll hear the metal flapping, but that you don't hear that so much when it's together. The glass cylinder having been removed, of course, to get to this point. Now the other thing we're going to want to do with one of these clocks is we're going to refinish the clock. Now this is something that some people would think is a bad idea. They say you're ruining an antique. Well, when they made these clocks, that wasn't the intention. This cracking you see here. So they've applied a very thick varnish to this that over the years has yellowed. This is mahogany and white holly. And as you see now, it's more yellow. But in the chipping, sometimes you can see what it was more close to looking like. Here's some chipping here. Here's the original wood. Now if that's mahogany, when that gets wet or when it gets oiled, it's gonna come out with a much deeper and more natural look. I won't tell you where I got that water there. So of course that's going to dry. But if you use the oil, like a linseed oil, and then cover this with the wood wax, I think you're going to see something that's going to be really beautiful. And that's what we're going to do at some point. That's going to be for a future video. Again, the main thing for this today was just to get a look at this clock and talk about the motor and possibly what we might be able to do if we get a motor and get the clock from that was on eBay into the Flip Clock Fan Studios and get it going again. Well, just a short video to talk to you about upcoming projects. Thanks for taking the time.